Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our fifth big movie review podcast. I'm Anson Chan,
I'm Paul Morgan.
and today we're reviewing Kubo and the Tale of the Two Strings.
And the Nice Guys.
There you go.
I think these are our two most recent movies that we've done, if I recall correctly.
I think you're right.
Awesome.
Uh,
I'm very stoked. This will feel more relevant then.
yeah, for sure. I mean,
Heck
they all
yeah.
felt relevant to me.
No,
Because-
me too. But we always talk about wanting to do newer ones, and this is, I think, a good.
Oh, that's what you meant by like within the past couple years.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I think these
Gotcha.
ones both came out in 2016. So.
Oh hell yeah, you're right. Oh hey.
All right, so let's start with Kubo and the Two Strings. I have a lot of the main plot points written down just because that's how I started my notes. So let me start us off.
Wonderful.
So Kubo and the Two Strings is about a young boy named Kubo, and he has a magic guitar that animates little pieces of paper that he keeps with him in his backpack, but that also possesses other magical powers. We start with him and his mom when he's a little tiny baby in a storm. His mom splits the seas using the fancy guitar and then huddles up to Kubo on the beach after they wash up. It cuts to years later, which is when our story takes place. Kubo's a little bit more mature. He goes into town every day, tells stories using his magic guitar, and the guitar animates all these pieces of paper. He tells the story about Hanzo, the swordsman, who coincidentally is also his father. And the crowd seem to really love this. We find out after a while that Hanzo is his father, like I said, and his mom says, never go outside. The people who killed your father took your eye, and they're relatives of yours, and they are going to try and take your other eye. And we find out that in order to defeat these, kind of relatives of his, he has to fulfill the story that he tells to the townspeople every day. So he has to go find these two pieces of armor and this unbreakable sword, and he has to defeat I believe it's the Lord of the Night. Is that what it is?
The Moon King.
The
or something
Moon
like
King,
that.
that's what it is. Okay. So, yeah, the story basically follows him, his monkey, his monkey charm, who is animated into a real monkey, and some other friends he finds around the way, like, for example, the Beetle, who's played by Matthew McConaughey. And, yeah, I'd say that's about a close enough summary as we're going to get.
There you go. Yeah. Paul, since you have the notes down, what did you like about Kubo and the Two Strings?
So our listeners don't know this, but before we started, I mentioned that I was mostly interested in this for the animation. So I will say one of my favorite things about this, because I believe it was mostly a true stop motion, but I'm not entirely sure how much supplementation with computer technology there was.
No,
But
I think
believe-
so too.
Yeah,
Because even in the fights, there was like hardly any effects that needed to be digitized.
Yeah, exactly. So it looks like it was shot in stop motion, but with two cameras so that they could still release it in 3D. So that's cool.
Okay.
So the first thing I liked was the coloration. I thought the coloration was gorgeous, especially in scenes where the light changes. Specifically, there's that one scene where Kubo is standing on the river and he throws his dad's crumpled lamp into the river, and then it gets dark before the sisters come out. I
Right.
thought that was gorgeous. When they're sailing in the boat made of leaves, the sun and the sky in that area is gorgeous, and then when it transitions to nighttime, that was also gorgeous.
Yep.
I
Even when they were
also
walking in the snow, the way that
yeah.
the wind effects and the lighting in that too was
yeah,
very
that was
interesting.
wonderful. No, definitely, yeah, that was great. Character design I thought was really cool. I really liked the character design of the sisters specifically.
Oh, yeah.
His mother's two sisters who are evil. They looked really cool, and their kind of animations and their fighting style was really cool. The Beetle, I loved his animation as well. I loved the animation of the big skeleton in the cave and the creature with the tons of eyes and the big circular mouth underwater that Kubo falls into.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was all so well done. This doesn't really fall under character design, but I also really loved the paper animations.
That was the best for me.
Yeah, so whenever the paper folded itself into things like the birds, into Hanzo, into anything else that, or like all the armor pieces and stuff like that. The chicken, I thought the chicken was awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Also,
that too.
lots of really effective cross-cutting. So there's a scene in the beginning where he's about to cook breakfast for his mom, and you see he's like striking something against something else to make a spark, and then before we even see him spark the fire, the next thing we see is it cuts straight to the pot where the fire goes. And I thought that cut was really great. There's another one where, they're in the cave and they're being shot out of the cave by the beetle, and they cut off the sound of their screams before they cut to kind of a silent shot outside the cave, and then the screams resume when they come into frame. I thought stuff like that was very good because it just shows that they're very capable filmmakers, and they're making a movie that's very filmically competent, I guess.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah,
Yes.
so those were the main things that worked for me. I also felt like, even though not every element of the story was quite there for me, I did connect with Kubo, and there were a couple times, especially when he's dealing with his mother, who's kind of, it seems like she has some kind of like memory trouble in the beginning. There were a couple times when I was actually kind of welling up with tears when he was interacting with her and she's just not all there, kind of. I thought those kind of heartfelt moments were really well done. So, yeah, what worked for you in this movie?
So for me, the animation, like, bar none, it was great. I really wanted to see this movie because I saw Coraline and I fell in love with it. I also happened to see it in 3D, and I was like, wow, these stop motion guys are great. The way they put the scenes together. Like, if you haven't seen Coraline, I highly recommend that too.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen that, but I figure most people probably have at this point.
I would highly recommend that you watch it then, just to appreciate all the, like, oh man, I think that's like 10 times Kubo, if you will. So give it a look.
Definitely, yeah.
I think I saw Paranorman 2, but I forgot about it. Like,
so not super memorable for you?
No, it wasn't memorable, but I think at the time appreciated what it was trying to do. But anyway, as far as the animation goes, like, my favorite scene, like, it starts out so strong, this movie, with the way that the story is told, the big wave crashing down on the mom, as she, like, plays her magic guitar, as you say, the shamisen, to split the waves. The whole, him performing in the streets with, like, the origami, like, turning into all these monsters and stuff, telling the tale of Hanzo.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. The way that was shot even too. Like, going around the little origami pieces, and you even see the normal-sized people in the background as the backdrop. Beautiful. Oh my god, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
The way that they made the paper fold on screen to, like, become the big dragon or the chicken or whatever. It was great, man. It was amazing. But it quickly loses steam in the way that it tells its story shortly after this, I think. I also really appreciate what it was trying to go for in terms of the message. This is about a child dealing with, I guess, mortality in general, or just parents becoming old and forgetful, right?
And also about how once you get, another thing is, like, once you get more, I think the monkey even says this, you're going to get more powerful, but life is also going to get harder, so just learn to deal with that kind of stuff. I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah, see, there was a lot of things that they were doing right in, like, what they were trying to go for, but I feel the delivery was so clumsy.
Yeah, it didn't always hit the way I think they intended it to.
Yeah, ham-fisted would be the best way to phrase that, in my opinion.
Sure.
But before we go into any more of that, I personally really like Matthew McConaughey's performance as the Beetle, and we just talked about this.
Yeah.
I thought he was the funniest character in the movie. His lines were the best, and he had the best deliverance too. I didn't even realize it was Matthew McConaughey until after. I was like, oh my god, it's Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, it definitely, when he first spoke, I was kind of wondering, this voice is familiar, but then I don't know who it is. And then after several minutes of him being on screen, I heard a couple of those signature Matthew McConaughey drawl kind of moments, and I was like, oh, okay.
I also really like the fight scenes. The fight sequences in this were really good.
So cool.
And, like, to see them, like, stop motion, it's pretty amazing, because they can't go, like, crazy kung fu with the wires, even though they kind of, like, are held up. but it's very practical because you
Yeah.
can't make these. You would lose so much if you try to make it more spectacular or more digital.
Yep.
The fact that that it's stop motion and they have to animate every single piece while making it look very physically real in the way that they move and interact and contact each other as they hit swords and like sickle and stuff like that. Oh, it's great. I don't think I've ever seen a stop motion kung fu fight before, but now I have a very high standard. You know what I mean?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, the sets. You talked about that. I really like the sets.
Oh, yeah, they were so gorgeous, dude. Oh,
yeah.
my gosh.
Just, if anything, just to look at this movie is very beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think it warrants the movie.
Sure.
I hate to say that because I think it does. I just think it really needed more help with the screenplay.
Sure, yeah. And coming out of that, I guess, do you feel like you've said everything you've liked? Because I want to start with the screenplay when I talk about the things that did not work for me. Yeah, the biggest thing for me was a lot of the dialogue didn't play for me.
Oh,
and
it's weird.
Especially the humor did not play for me. So there was a lot of attempted humor in this movie, and some of it really worked really well. Like, for example, the paper chicken that breathes fire and it makes that silly noise.
Yeah.
I thought that was wonderful. But there were other things that seemed like they were trying to be humorous that the delivery just didn't get the humor across, if there was an intent to make humor with them. So
no,
I wrote down a
that
few.
Too.
Yeah, I wrote down a few of them. So the first one is when Kubo and the monkey are standing outside of the whale. And, and the monkey says, "You're going to say that this smells bad, but keep in mind my sense of smell is 10 times stronger than yours." There could be some humor in that. I felt like it fell flat. Also, Kubo slurping loudly to irritate the monkey. They tried to create a little bonding, humorous moment there, and it just didn't play for me.
Oh, yeah. It just made him look like a brat.
Yeah, exactly. And then Kubo at one point asks the monkey, "Do you ever say anything encouraging?" And the monkey just says, "I encourage you not to die," which that could be hilarious if it was said by like an old samurai master in the right way or something. But the way Charlize Theron delivered it, it just didn't play for me.
I agree.
Also, when Matthew McConaughey says, "I'm a samurai," or just a really bad hoarder, that line, I'm assuming it was meant to be funny, but it just fell flat for me.
Oh, I like that line.
And then he also says, "I've got a bone to pick with you." See? Because he's made of bones.
Yeah,
something about the delivery just fell flat on that. I don't know what it was. A lot of lines like that, especially in the beginning half of the movie, came off more just weird as opposed to actually humorous.
No, so I actually agree with you there.
Yeah, so those are kind of my issues with the screenplay. I mean, I didn't think the pacing was like super off. I liked that there were, decent lulls followed by, moments of action, but the moments of action never feel like drawn out, neither do the kind of the lulls or anything. But a lot of what didn't play for me about this movie was in the dialogue specifically. And then the only other thing that I really wrote down that really, really I wanted to harp on was it never felt like they were in peril, and they never explained why it never felt like that. So, like, I don't know if I have a lot of good examples. I maybe have two. So, for example, the first one is they go to fight that skeleton thing when they're looking for the indestructible sword. Even when Kubo is, like, hanging from the arrow off the wall and stuff like that, I didn't really feel like his life was in danger because I just saw him grow wings thanks to his mother's magic. And we just heard the monkey say he's getting more powerful. And we also find out pretty shortly after that Matthew McConaughey can fly. Either that or we find out right before. Similarly, like when he's floating down to that creature with the like big mouth or whatever, that didn't really seem like he was in peril because of the fact that he would have died from drowning before he would have had to deal with that thing, eating him also. Also, the moon beast I thought was really dope, but it just didn't feel menacing enough to actually threaten Kubo after you've seen him do all this cool magic stuff.
It was just weird.
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't ever feel like they were in danger, and I feel like this is a story that really requires the appearance of danger. And so because of that, I would almost suggest in the script they maybe should have had one or two fewer helpers for him, if that makes sense.
You see, but what they're trying to do is a sort of Journey to the West Monkey King tale. Even, with the monkey being the one that helps Kubo. So, for those of you who don't know, the Monkey King is a story very popular in China and Japan, just in the Orient in general, where a monk needs to go to basically India or Tibet or something and bring them back to China to get holy scriptures and all these different Buddhas or demons along the way. Well, demons becoming Buddhas or Buddhas, whatever, right? Help the monk get to where he needs to go. So the Monkey King, being the main badass, the worst dude ever who tore up heaven, and now has to repent and help the monk get his stuff, right? But the monk is completely clueless and helpless, and basically has to just do everything for him. With he has other helpers too. The horse is actually a cursed demon or god or something, and then there's a friar who's just some badass dude who was a demon who used to control a river, who would eat people who try to cross it, and then the Monkey King was like, you can't do that, or I'm gonna kill you. And he goes, all right, I'll repent. I'm all yours, dude. I'll help you get your scriptures. And they've helped him along the way.
Okay, I didn't know that connection was there, so that helps add a little bit of context.
I don't think you would. This is definitely kind of like a strange hybridization of Eastern story meets Western audience, kind of.
Sure, yeah.
Because, man, the Japanese people in this, the way the eyes were just so chinky. I was just like, oh man.
Just for anyone listening, Anson is Asian, so he gets a
pass
guys.
In
saying that word.
I'm Anson and I'm Asian.
He can say that word all he wants. So
so the eyes are very, very slanted.
Yeah.
And I get it. You're going for a look.
Yeah. No,
and
I understand.
I wasn't horribly offended by it, but I feel like they missed a lot of the Asian sensibility.
Yeah.
Especially the ending spoilers. Maybe not spoilers, but let's see if I can skirt this. The weird ancestor thing that they try to have at the end, I feel was a really weird misread on the Asian filial piety thing.
Yeah, and filial piety is traditionally more of a Chinese thing anyways, and so much of this represents...
Asian.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought that was more of a Confucian thing than
it is, but
Shinto
the Confucian culture pervaded to a lot of the other regions, you see.
Gotcha.
So they all have that, and Japan has that whole, the honorable ancestor thing too.
Yeah,
if you will.
Then, I just thought of one last thing that... this is not really a real gripe about the movie, but for those of us who are video gamers, it was very hard to watch a character named Hanzo who has a sword, when those of us who frequent Overwatch know Hanzo is a bowman. And he's not a main. You don't use him as your main.
But Hanzo does use a bow in Overwatch.
That's what I'm saying. No, wait. Hanzo in the movie has a sword. Hanzo in Overwatch is a bowman.
But Hanzo the Beetle only uses the bow. Whenever he picks up the sword, he stumbles and is scared of it and he drops it.
No, that's what I mean. Hanzo is the little paper character with the sword.
Oh, I think they meant actual Hanzo. Spoiler alert, Beetle is the cursed Hanzo.
So the that was kind of weird. I wasn't hip with that. I've been playing a little bit too much Overwatch lately. I know those two have no relation, but for some reason I was like, a guy named Hanzo who doesn't have a bow. What the shit is this?
I think you're mixing your peas and carrots there, Forrest.
Oh, I definitely am. No need to be doing that. I just thought that was funny to mention.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with my actual feelings on the movie.
Sure. I 100% agree with you that the dialogue is just so bad, because you're right in that I feel like the way that they pace itself from one scene to another, or from the cave to the town to the cave to the night to the snow to the lake to the fortress to the burnt town. I mean, it felt right. That's where like all those moments should be exactly when they appear, but the dialogue can't carry it to the next scene.
Yeah,
like, everything
and I wonder
takes
if
it
maybe
away.
the dialogue was a little bit simplistic or on the nose because of the fact that this was rated PG and it was marketed to kids.
I don't think so. I think, what was Coraline rated? Let me see.
I think Coraline was also rated PG, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, and then Coraline had the benefit of being a story written by Neil Gaiman. So they had, I mean, he already have a winning script, you know what I mean? Out the gate. Let me see Coraline. There we go, Coraline. Coraline was PG.
Yeah, okay.
So, and then Paranorman, I thought, when I saw it, they were trying to go for the whole 80s horror movie aesthetic, so it was supposed to be really cheesy.
Yeah.
And so the writing was supposed to be bad, so I was like, okay, I'll give it a pass.
Yeah, exactly. It's supposed to kind of be an homage to like the universal horror world.
Exactly. So I understood that. But this shouldn't have been this. Even if they were trying to write as like a bad translation of Asian dialogue or, you know, like a Japanese samurai kind of thing, whatever.
Yeah.
That didn't feel right either.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Because like, if you're going to deliver it, then it'd have to be delivered very cheesily. But it just, everything felt really bad with the characters playing together or talking to each other. The only time it felt right was when they're fighting.
Yeah.
Or like literally fighting, not like arguing, but like.
Yes.
Actually, there's a couple cute moments when like, once Beetle hits the scene, they have the three-way interplay of characters, you know.
Yeah,
like
where it's like Beetle's kind of the bumbling idiot, like father figure type character. Mm-hmm. Monkey is kind of the serious, bring him back down to earth type character, and then Kubo kind of vacillates between those two, you know, different areas.
Yeah, I don't know, like, this whole movie, like, hinged on Deus Ex Machina kind of thing. Like, magic wings saves the day. What else? Oh yeah, the magic string break saves the day. And then the third, this magic thing turns, now spoiler, turns the moon god into a doddering, like, completely senile old man.
Yeah, right. I thought that was kind of funny.
Like, and then, oh man. So, the dialogue was horrible, but I appreciate what it was trying to do in terms of the story it told. But the last scene, when they're like, old man is like, oh, where am I? Who am I? You know, and they all just tell him this whole fucking lie of like, you're this super nice dude. You taught my daughter how to swim. You give coins to little kids. After they just like, had that whole big thing about how memory is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And like, you can't take this away. We'll live on forever. And you just give this guy a whole cock and bull story about, you know, like his whole life. That felt really, really weird. Like,
yeah, and they're like, who will tell me about my past? Like, Kubo will tell you all of the stories. It's like, okay, dude, come on.
It got so weird because the whole moral just flipped on its head at that one point.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
And if he's supposed to be like, you know, the grandpa he now has to take care of thing, like, it all feels so wrong and weird.
It is kind of a full circle, though, because of the fact that, one, his mom was a little bit senile and he had to take care of her.
Yeah, she's aging and senile.
Yeah, and that at the end, the old guy is kind of like his new kind of parental unit, I guess. And he volunteers like, well, I know what it's like to take care of someone who forgets a lot, so I'll just take it upon myself to teach this old guy all the lies we made up for him.
Yeah, but that's so messed up. Like,
yeah,
because the memory is what's gonna, you know, let you live on. Like, don't fear death because the stories that they'll tell of you going forward is what matters. You know what I mean? Like, and then you can just make up a whole big bullshit thing about somebody, and then that's the important thing. Like, I don't know. See, that completely flipped the moral on its head, the story on its head.
Yeah, that didn't really work for me either.
Oh, and then like the whole scene, like the Deus Ex part where all the ghosts come out and protect them from the Moon King's like, you know, bombardment of just like strikes and blows.
Oh my gosh, like, I totally forgot about that.
That felt fucking weird.
Yeah, I should have written that down. Holy cow. Yeah. I have a problem where when I watch these movies, I'll typically take really good notes for like the first half to 3/4, and then like near the end, I'll just be like watching it, and I always forget to write down stuff. That was something I definitely forgot to write down.
Yeah, I don't know. And they were the ones that kind of turned him back into like a creature, I guess. I don't know. Like, I don't know. so poorly executed, and I don't think it was opened in Japan. Maybe it will be in the future, but it was released in August, and I think, because I was looking at the box office to see if it made money. I think this might have lost money. Let me check.
It made $48 million domestically on a $60 million budget, which is pretty bad. Worldwide, it made its budget back, but they had a pretty heavy advertising schedule, so let's assume they didn't make all their money back.
Yeah, but it hasn't opened in Japan, right?
I'm looking at foreign sales.
It's only like the UK and like Europe, right?
It did not play at all in Japan, no.
So I think these guys made a
straight from Italy to Latvia in the alphabetic order of who it opened in. So
yeah, there's a big logistical problem here. Oh, I also saw the Box Trolls. I guess they might have done this. Hold on, I don't know, maybe not. Anyway, but yeah, the studios that did Kubo, I was like, oh man, you guys knocked it out of the park with Coraline. Let's go see Kubo. And I was like,
yeah, right.
This is dire.
Yeah, it neither did it play in Japan or China for some reason. That's very weird.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Those are two very big film markets. I wonder what happened there.
I don't know. Like, it feels, maybe they're still trying to, but I also really hated the scene when they're fighting the second sister, and then like they have this useless fucking scene where Monkey, spoiler, who's secretly, the spirit of the mom.
Yeah.
Is like, Hanzo, my now realized husband.
Yeah.
The beetle. Protect Kubo, no matter what. And he goes, I will protect Kubo, no matter what, and just dies. Like, yeah. I was like, what? It's like, he's gonna get up, right? Like, you can't just have that scene and he's gonna die, because it doesn't really have an emotional toll either.
Maybe they're trying to teach their younger audience a lesson about disappointment.
That your parents are gonna fucking die? Well, I get it. This whole movie's about dealing with, like, mortality and et cetera.
Dealing with shit that sucks.
But that was so that just felt A, really out of place.
Yeah.
And B, unnecessary for the scene.
Yeah.
Because it didn't add any gravity. The gravity would have been, you now realize he's your dad.
Yeah. Saying
that just felt clumsy, and you just you really go, what? What? Like when he dies, Yeah. So I hated that. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about Kubo? I think I've said everything I needed to say.
Yeah, I guess just in closing, I think there were a lot of great ideas in this movie. I just think that the only thing, and this sucks because it's such a big component of the movie, that held these ideas back was the exact wording of the script.
Mm-hmm.
And just in terms of the dialogue. Like, some of the dialogue just took me right out of it. Kind of like, I don't remember when we talked about the infiltrator and I had all those lines where I was like, oh my god, fuck you.
Oh, that was amazing.
There were so many lines like that in this where it wasn't like, oh, fuck you, but it did make me think, I don't need this to be phrased this clumsily.
Mm-hmm.
I need maybe a little bit more subtlety. And like I said, I totally am open to the idea that maybe it's a little on the nose because of the fact that kids are their main audience and you got to get your lessons across and stuff. But it's just, some of it was a little bit too on the nose for me.
I think this is, well, if that's the idea, then they really think kids are stupid.
They must, right? Because I remember when I was a kid, if I watched a movie that had dialogue that was super on the nose like that, I would kind of be disinterested immediately. And I have trouble believing that children of this generation are stupider than I am. So, I think they're either trying to hand it to someone and they maybe made a little bit too ornate of a box to put it in, or that's something. I don't know. Yeah,
I was going to say, I think most 5-year-olds aren't thinking about, Mommy, are you going to die?
Right.
Because that's exactly who with the very simple dialogue. It's not even like, okay, it's not like Teletubbies Barney's hello, like, hey kids, I'm, hi there, face here, like simplistic.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So if they were trying to go for making it understandable to a younger audience, that's a miss already, because that audience shouldn't be thinking about, like I said, senileness or Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's a miss for me.
Yeah, I agree. So if you had to recommend this to someone, would you do so?
Oh, I would say go see Coraline. And if you have to see an animated movie this year, don't see Kubo.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you, Paul?
I would recommend it to people who are very focused on visuals. So I guess this deserves a little bit of context. When I lived in Los Angeles, a lot of my friends were the types of people who are very technically skilled in film production. And a lot of times those same people would completely write off a movie just because the technical aspects weren't there. I think if you love technical filmmaking, this is a fucking great movie to watch, but I think the script falls flat, so I would probably, in most cases, not recommend it.
Okay, cool. And our next movie that we're going to talk about is The Nice Guys.
Do you want to get us started on The Nice Guys?
Absolutely. So, The Nice Guys is a 2016 film directed by Shane Black, starring Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. The story takes place... Oh, God, I'm so bad with the times. Like,
it's sometime in the 70s. Yeah.
It was like Nixon era. So, it takes place around the 70s and is a buddy cop film. Two private investigators, if you will, team up and unravel a large conspiracy involving a bunch of different porn actresses and murders that kind of goes all the way to the top.
Yep.
Along the way, we see the relationship kind of build between Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling, and his daughter, Ryan Gosling's daughter. I don't know who played her, but she was horrible. Anyway, by the end of it, I can't spoil it. I think we're just going to leave it there, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's good enough of a summary that people can get, because I think one of the things about this movie is that you wanna watch the movie, but also you're not. I mean, this is a Shane Black movie. You're not necessarily going at it for the ending. You're going at it for the dialogue. You're going at it for the action. You're going at it for the soundtrack and the tone, because that's what Shane Black is known for.
Okay.
So, just a little bit of extra context. Shane Black made a name for himself in, I believe, the 80s, writing spec scripts.
What's that mean?
So a spec script is a script that is not necessarily going to get made, or is like... So a lot of times a spec script is something that you use to get a job as a screenwriter. So, for example, a screenwriter who was looking to get an agent might write an episode of a TV show that already exists. And that would be a spec script. So let me look at what the actual definition is so I can give it a little bit. So a spec script is short for speculative screenplay, is a screenplay that no one solicited you to write. It usually is written by a screenwriter who hopes to have the screenplay made and produced, but it's just something you do on your own, essentially, without being commissioned by a studio or an agent or a director or something like that. So Shane Black wrote a bunch of spec scripts, and then kind of got well known for writing the Lethal Weapon series. He started his career started with Lethal Weapon 1. He also wrote 2, 3, and 4. He wrote Last Action Hero, starring, I believe, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He wrote Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, starring Robert Downey Jr. He also wrote Iron Man 3, which I have not seen, but I've heard is not the worst of the Iron Man trilogy. So Shane Black made a name for himself writing these spec scripts, and then in 2005 he got to make this movie with Robert Downey Jr. called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is extremely similar in tone to this movie, where it's kind of like a sweet-talking guy who's a little bit bumbling, stumbles upon some shit he can't really handle, and has to, kind of let some stories unravel in front of him. So he's got a long history of writing stuff with really interesting characters that are fun to watch on screen, and I think this is just a nice continuation of that tradition, I guess. So yeah, that was a little bit of the context I wanted to put in there. So, having said that, what worked for you in this movie?
I must say, I like seeing the buddy cop kind of movie come back. It's been a while since I've seen a good buddy cop movie, especially in recent years. I can't I can't name one that's come out in the past couple years, if I've seen one, or a few years.
I would say maybe for me, even though it's more of a comedy and less of an actual like cop movie, that movie, The Other Guys with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. I really enjoyed that, but it's not really the same type of movie at all. So I would say it doesn't technically count.
Yeah, this kind of has more of a Dirty Harry feel with a little bit of a more lighthearted, like the interplay between Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling is where all the comedy is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought this was really funny. I was Wikipediaing this movie earlier today, and Wikipedia describes this movie as a mystery crime thriller neo-noir action comedy.
That's a perfect description, honestly.
Yeah, right? They used all the right words.
Yeah. So it was really nice to see that. I like Russell Crowe's performance in this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I thought he stole almost every scene he was in. I enjoyed seeing Ryan Gosling. I just saw La La Land and I loved that movie.
Yeah.
I feel like he was a bit underplayed in this, but he played his role very well, you know?
Yeah.
Because he was I'm just very lucky at finding a clue, but also secretly excellent at what I do.
Yeah, he's bumbling
low-key.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much like not like a Mr. Magoo, but you know what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah. Like an Inspector Clouseau almost.
There you go. Thank you. Or yeah, because I was gonna say Inspector Zenigata, but you don't know who that is.
Oh,
and
no,
that's a play on Clouseau, who I've never seen. Yeah. Anyway, I really like the soundtrack. All the music seemed to fit the right scene, and they're all jammable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. The soundtrack was composed of, among others, The Temptations, Kool and the Gang, Earth, Wind and Fire, Al Green, Kiss, the band, and just a fuck ton of other great, great artists.
I was gonna say just a lot of great funk and R&B from its time that I really enjoy listening to.
There's never a wrong time to use Al Green in a movie.
Right. And I like a little bit of a spoiler here. I like the Chinatown ending, that kind of Chinatown feeling ending.
Yeah.
But that was before the whole, oh my god. The film still exists out there, right? If it would have ended on, the daughter dying, it would have been Chinatown. Exactly. Like almost shot for shot, right?
Right.
Because the daughter dies, then it goes, oh, don't look. And they go, Jack, forget about it. It's Chinatown. It would have been the exact same. Yep. And I think it might have done very well had it ended that way. But then you have that whole big thing where we're going to get the film, we kill a bunch of dudes in the way, in a very like rush hour-y, kind of like clumsy fight scene.
Yeah.
Because you have Jackie Chan, aka Russell Crowe, doing all the badass fighting, and you have Ryan Gosling, Chris Tucker, doing all the clumsy tackling and just lucking out along the way. Yep. When they get the film and nothing changes, everyone's released, and it's like, you're right. 2 days later and everything is still the same.
Yeah.
And then now they have like their own agency.
Yeah, that seemed a little bit too nice of a wrap up for sure.
Oh, it was like overly schlocky for the tone it was setting in the beginning, in the middle.
Especially because in the beginning, like, there's moments where you're like genuinely scared of Russell Crowe, like fucking Ryan Gosling over. You're like, oh, this is a bad guy. He's willing to do bad shit to.
He's like a violent badass.
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely a weird change from that. I agree.
Oh yeah, like killing in cold blood.
Yeah,
like they didn't need to have the whole. Oh, anyway, we'll get into that after I get into the nitpicks.
Yeah.
And at least in the beginning and the middle, I really like the blend of like serious action and comedy. But then it just kind of unravels by the end and just becomes more of like Rush Hour.
Yeah, it becomes more kind of friendly to the audience.
Yeah. Paul, what worked for you in this movie?
So I had a lot of things actually. So first off, are you familiar with Deep Throat, the anonymous source who gave away the Watergate scandal?
Yes.
So obviously, there was a porn movie, like one of the most famous porn movies of all time, very kind of, loosely associated with that. I thought the movie that they are making, spoiler alert, about LA's smog problem had obvious parallels to that and the ensuing controversy, especially since it's the 70s during the Nixon administration, supposedly. Like you mentioned, I love the soundtrack. Both leads were great. I loved, in particular, Ryan Gosling's alcoholism and the way that manifested itself. Like, he sabotages himself so much because he's an alcoholic, and every single time I enjoyed the fuck out of it.
I feel by the end that they played on that too much.
Oh, sure, yeah. By the end, it was definitely a little bit overbearing, but at least those moments where, like, he falls off the roof, and one of the moments I wrote down was when he and Russell Crowe are outside by the pool and he's he's sitting on the diving board. Yeah. And it seems like they're about to connect, like in a very real way for the first time. And Russell Crowe starts opening up to him, and then it just cuts back to Ryan Gosling and he's passed out. I loved that.
Interesting.
So how much of an idiot his alcoholism made him, I loved.
I feel a little bit differently because I think
okay.
In the way that they try to use his alcoholism as like a comedy tool, if you will, that felt a little weird for me because they're trying to get across that he has a problem and he's kind of drinking his problems away. Yeah, he's one of those like those
can't
like
deal with reality type of guys.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. But the way they use his alcoholism is just purely for laughs, and like I feel like it was a bit of a missed opportunity. Because this is where I see that transition into like pure Rush Hour, drunken master almost. I get drunk to do kung fu.
Yeah.
Versus I drink to kind of like deal with my problems.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Like, I totally understand that feeling. And the thing is that like removed from the context of this movie where they're intentionally trying to make some pretty morbid shit into funny shit. Some of the ways in which he sabotages himself and their numerous investigations through his alcoholism, like in real life, would be very upsetting to endure as like his partner, as his daughter, as his ex-wife, etc. So right. I definitely understand that feeling on your part.
Yeah, it feels strange tonally.
I also liked... Oh, go ahead.
Because before they introduce this, like, heavy alcoholism kind of thing, it's more of a really gritty movie.
Yeah, it definitely is, yeah.
Yeah, and then, like I said, for that to be the comedy in that was like, what? Then the whole tone changes, and you just kind of scratch your head. But anyway, sorry, you were saying?
The next thing I really thought worked for me was how bumbling Ryan Gosling's character was in general. One thing that I really hate is, and I love the movie Chinatown, but one thing that I hate in noir movies is when the main character is too competent, where it like becomes unrealistic how good they are at their job. And then usually in noir movies, the person is so good at their job that it's incumbent upon the femme fatale or the bad guy to, take them out of the equation or to throw them off their, path. I like that between Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe, they had such trouble working together at certain points that it was like, oh, they're just normal dudes with a point of view who happen to be in this job. I like that a lot. I liked the gallows humor a lot, like in the elevator when the guy falls out the window, like, and they just kind of look at each other. Like, stuff like that was really great. Another example is when Russell Crowe assaults Ryan Gosling. I was in stitches during that part, no pun intended. I thought that was hilarious. Also, when Russell Crowe assaults the bartender, this is just an example of Shane Black's awesome writing. Like, I think Ryan Gosling says, "Tell us right now and he'll stop." And the guy goes, "He'll stop doing what?" And then it's like slammed his head into the bar. And then and then Russell Crowe goes, "Now we can do this the easy way," or, "Well, we're currently doing this the easy way."
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I thought little moments like that where it's kind of just a little bit of morbid humor, or like humor that actually legitimately depends on a character getting hurt in a way that's uncomfortable for them. I thought those moments were really great, and most of them played out very well. Once again, just returning to the Ryan Gosling being a bumbling idiot, one of the moments, or two of the moments that I really want to harp on about that I thought were especially effective were, so when they're talking to the bartender, and the bartender goes, yeah, well, what's it called when you get your balls removed? And Russell Crowe goes, marriage? And then literally in the next scene, Ryan Gosling says, no, when you get your balls removed, it's called being a Munich. And you're like, oh God, he's an idiot. He's just a plain old-fashioned idiot. Also, when Ryan Gosling punches the glass without properly securing his veins on his arm, that was just such a lovely moment because I hate how everything always goes so well in movies. And you know that that's got to have happened so many times in real life where someone sees someone punch through glass in a movie, they go and they try it themselves, and then they get a cut in like a main artery or something, and they're bleeding all over the place. I thought that was so funny for some reason. I thought they did a great job just making them into real people who make mistakes and they have real feelings and stuff like that. Also, just like because Shane Black's so good at this, the dialogue, the sarcasm in the dialogue was so great. So, I mean, that's a lot of stuff to have liked about this movie, but I did mostly like it. So there's that. So having said that, what didn't work for you in this movie?
My biggest gripe would be the kid, man. The kid actor was so awful.
Ryan Gosling's daughter?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
she
know
was
her
not the
name.
greatest actor ever.
She
was one of those actors where you could kind of tell that she was acting.
Well, yeah, and you can't really help it because she was a kid.
Yeah, of course. And it's tough to get good at film acting because it's so subtle.
Yeah, Holly.
I feel like she'd be a great theater actor because she's very kind of over the top some of the scenes.
Yeah, but it just really ruined every scene. Like if there was a play between Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, as soon as she opened her mouth, it was ruined. Whatever they had was gone.
Sure. Yeah, it was definitely a momentum killer.
And then when they made that switch to like focus on her, like way more for the plot's sake, it felt really bad because they gave her more speaking lines. All of a sudden, she's fucking Sherlock Holmes and knows everything and happens to be in the right place at the right time. Like, why don't you guys trust me? Let me be along for the team. No, you have to go home and go to bed. Oh, here I am solving all the mysteries. I found her. Like
that definitely
like,
did
hell,
feel
man?
Like a little bit overly competent of a character for me.
Oh yeah, because like the movie hadn't started that way.
Yeah,
and I don't know why it changed to be that way, and then it was like. It just became that after a while. I don't know what happened. Like, it just feels so out there. Yeah,
overly competent kids are one of the kind of more upsetting tropes in movies.
Right. I'm not sure, because I was trying to think of other movies that had that. Maybe, excuse me.
Maybe Jurassic Park drastically simplified the like overly competent kid thing. Like I think in the book it's not the girl but the little boy who's really good with computers, and it has nothing to do with it's this simple system that I understand. It's like, I'm a coder, so I understand how to code this out. Whereas like in the movie it's like, with the simple click of a thing and dragging my mouse along the thing, I'm getting, I'm closing everything up for everyone. And it's like, dude, if Samuel L. Jackson, like the head coder of Jurassic Park, can't figure out Dennis Nedry's code, how are you, a little child, able to do this?
Right.
Like, stuff like that really upsets me.
The thing that upsets me the most is that whole, no, take me along, I can help you.
Yeah.
And, like, no, we're not gonna trust you. And then that's basically Kubo in a nutshell.
Sure.
Oh my god. Because Kubo was the low-key, secretly really capable magic guitar player who could get everyone out of anything.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Oh man, like that bugs me. And this movie just had way too much of that, and I don't know why. Because before we were recording, I was bringing it up, like, why do they make that switch? Like, is this supposed to be a family movie now? To have like so much emphasis on the kid? Are the kids supposed to like that little girl because she's so smart and she's sticking it to all the adults? Because it does not makes sense, and it doesn't really work for an adult audience. A, because she's a bad actor, and B, because it just feels so weird in what they were building up to as a kind of more, like I said, a nittier, grittier kind of crime movie, cop movie, to just like Kid Spy, or whatever that movie was. The old Nickelodeon movie. I don't know.
Yeah, what do you think accounted for the drastic change in tone between the beginning and the end? Like, where do you think that started?
My God, I have no idea because I was
Yeah,
in
that's
love
the
with
thing.
it
I
in the
can't
beginning.
point to it either.
Yeah, like
I just know that it happened because the end is so much sweeter in tone than the rest of the movie.
it gave me diabetes. It was just,
yeah, right. It was very sweet, and the rest of the movie seems like it's pointing us towards this gritty kind of view of, you know,
the underbelly of LA.
yeah.
You know?
I don't know. I don't understand what accounted for that.
It was all like
switch
about
in tone.
pornography and stuff. Like
Yeah,
women with their fucking tits out getting shot and like crashed into fucking their dashboards and stuff. It was like, I don't know. You know, I have no idea, and I can't account for it. I can't think of any studio meddling that would have accounted for that either, because the beginning still exists, right?
yeah.
So something might have happened during the middle of the shoot. I don't know, because I can't fathom why that happened or what justifies it.
Yeah, because one thing that I think is noteworthy is that though there is this kind of drastic shift in tone, it seems like for the most part, except for the fact that they grow to not hate each other, Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling are relatively similar characters the whole way through.
Yep.
It might just be the addition or the kind of overly the over-reliance on the daughter near the middle and the end that kind of did it.
Mm-hmm.
They had to like lighten themselves up to deal with her. I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point.
Yeah, like you and me both. I'm at a loss.
Is there anything else that didn't work for you?
Oh yeah. My next big thing, I think it's the last one, is the way that they started presenting the clues to the mystery was very clumsy by the end.
Can you give me an example of that?
My daughter thinks I'm trying to kill her. I can't understand why. And it's like, okay, eyebrows instantly raised.
Yep.
And then spoiler alert, she's trying to kill her daughter.
Yeah, right.
Spoiler, I said that. Okay. Then there was the whole, I don't know, can I also say I really didn't like the daughter of the, what's her name? The one they're trying to save the whole time.
Yeah,
Amelia.
she was a little bit overacted.
Oh my God. She was awful. Amelia Kuttner was the name of the character, played by Margaret Qualley. She's just awful.
Her performance didn't really work super well for me.
There was other clues too, where it's like, the money, there was no money in this briefcase, or like, you know, I don't feel safe with anyone else taking this briefcase but you guys. Like, and they even like have that whole like wink wink nod nod to the camera moment, where like they kind of pause on it to like let you know that, oh, you know something that they don't. Like, come on. But that was, again, by the time that the whole tone had shifted, that these clues started getting all weird and like, do ho ho, I hope you don't look into this, you know, at this porn guy's collection or whatever.
Yeah,
you know.
right.
Where it came full circle with the old lady saying, I saw her in the house. That was a cool moment where I was like, oh, it was the projection on the wall. I was like, okay, there we go. That's fine.
Yeah, I thought that part was cool, definitely.
But everything else, all the clues that they have to find with the daughter just stumbling on everything, and then, you know, the blue-faced character coming back, it's just like, whatever, man. Like, I also want to say that I like that moment where Russell Crowe chooses to spare the black guy.
Yep.
When he's just like, cause it doesn't have to show that like, he's bad all the time. Cause given the choice, he'll not be a bad guy. But, you know, if he thinks this guy's gonna come back and kill him, he's gonna kill his ass, right? Cause literally one guy says like, you won't see me again, I'll move to Michigan. He goes, alright, that's far enough. And then, to the other guy who's just like relentless, and the guy who pissed him off, he's like, look, I'm just gonna straight up kill you. Like, I get that. I completely understand that. And I like that about his character. Yeah. He's the quote unquote detective who walks on the dirty side of the street, you know. But I love that about him. That's what makes him so endearing, because he's that dirty, hairy guy who just doesn't, I'll fucking kill your ass guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. And then his character change at the end, where it's like, if you kill him, I'm not gonna talk to you ever again. And then Russell Crowe goes, you're lucky. You got saved by an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
That could have actually been okay had she been a little kid.
Well,
right?
also
Not some genius motherfucking kid.
Also, though, there's an epidemic of that. Like, that scene is such a movie cliche at this point. Like,
oh, sure.
Oh, the kid rushes up and hugs the dad right as they're about to shoot him in the fucking head, or, etc.
Yeah.
That's happened in so many movies. And the thing that is
yeah.
killing me is that I can't think of any examples right now besides that movie. But
I've seen
that
in Crash.
Yes.
When the Afghani guy wants to kill the redneck or whatever, the guy who thinks or the Mexican guy who he thinks is scamming him, and when he shoots him, and then the little boy goes up and hugs his dad. Yeah. That was, but that had a lot of emotional impact now.
Yeah.
You see, and the shot was fired. It just happened to be a blank.
Yeah, exactly.
Another one happens like. Almost like a Cindy Lou Who moment where like Cindy Lou Who comes out and is like, Mr. Grinch, what are you doing? It's like, go back to bed, I'm Santa, man. And then, like, you know what I mean? There's a little bit of that, but that's not quite the right scene. But you know what I mean? I know what you mean by it exists. The problem is, they do it well in a lot of other movies.
Yeah.
And they couldn't even execute it on this. If they were going for a parody of it, they missed the boat because it wasn't obvious enough, or, they just didn't do it right.
Yep, I think that something just didn't. I think probably the characterization of the child as being like overly intelligent is what killed it.
Yeah, if she was just like a little innocent little girl, that would have been one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's definitely something that screwed them a little bit.
I think those are my main gripes.
Yeah. I only wrote down one gripe, and this is. I admit that this is a little bit unfair, but I just have to say it because I think this needs to be said. We did not need to see every one of these women naked when they died. I think that is such a cheap fucking bullshit excuse just to have boobs in your movie. If you're going to have boobs in your movie, have boobs in your movie, but I don't need to see every dead woman be naked. God forbid women have a little bit of agency when they're naked in a movie. Every time someone's dead, you see their boobs. Happens in Silence of the Lambs. Happens in numerous other crime-related movies. I don't need to see the beautiful naked dead woman.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Why was the first porn actress naked in her car?
Yeah, exactly. I don't need that sort of stuff. Upsets me because it's like, you are a smart filmmaker. I've watched a lot of your movies. I've read some of your scripts. This does not need to be there. It is simply lazy. There is no excuse for it. You just wanted boobs in there to secure your rating R. I don't get why they did that. It seemed very, very silly to me.
Oh, you think so? They just wanted to secure the R rating?
Well, I don't know. I mean, they said a lot of F-bombs, so probably that did it already. But I don't know.
Yeah, see, so maybe they towed the line, like...
Maybe, yeah.
They said, we're going to be rated R anyway. Well, fuck it. We're trying to make a PG-13 movie. Let's just have some boobs in it then.
Yeah, right. And it's just something
maybe that's the thing.
It's weighed on me in a lot of series. It weighed on me in Westworld. It weighs on me in Game of Thrones. Like, why do we need people just to be naked all the time? I get people like looking at naked people. I get this is good for ratings. But it's become such a hack move. It is a hack move, and there's no getting around it.
That's so funny that you mentioned that, because I didn't even realize it, except for Misty Mountains.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, I don't know. That just didn't really work for me. Obviously, we mentioned the girl was too smart. And also, I think the girl was too smart because of the fact that every other woman in this movie is a fucking idiot. And I think that's kind of... one of the other problems with this movie is it's like supposed to be about these two guys, but because they developed the two guys so well, every other character seems underdeveloped. And a lot of time that takes the form of a woman saying stupid sounding or shallow lines.
Yeah, but that's what it's supposed to be, because it was only supposed to be about those two. When they
but
tried
at the
to
same
emphasize
time,
other people.
If they're gonna make, secondary characters who, have this big agenda, I don't want to spoil anything, but like a lot of the women that end up dead have a very specific agenda, And if they're going to make secondary characters who have this agenda, who are going about something smartly or interestingly, give the characters the credit of their actions. Give them a personality to match the intelligence and integrity of their actions. Don't just make them another kind of underdeveloped lady character, because underdeveloped lady character is such a Hollywood cliche at this point. There are, articles upon articles upon articles about how boring it is to see that at this point, because you can almost assume it's going to take place a lot of the time.
Where could you have inserted more character development for the girls? Like, specifically which ones and then how? Because for me personally, I don't think there was room in this movie. It was already a fucking 2-hour movie or whatever.
No, yeah, there wasn't room in this movie. So you're very right about that. The thing is that like,
and I don't care about any of the women anyway. Like,
yeah, maybe
I don't care about the mom's motivation. I don't care about the daughter's motivation.
And I probably didn't either a lot of the time, because I did really like the relationship between Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. But maybe just compress 2 or 3 of the women characters into one like better character and give her some interesting shit to say. I don't know. I don't have a lot of good examples of that, unfortunately, because I watched this about 2 weeks ago and I didn't write notes about this.
What about the black lady who's like the district attorney's secretary, who just is like low key an assassin?
Yep.
And this is like, I killed 3 dudes. Like, maybe she could have used a little bit more, because I get that line was for shock and kind of comedy.
Yeah,
but
where did that come from? We didn't expect it, and it's kind of takes us by surprise. The only other thing I wrote down, which I think we talked about before we actually started the podcast, this movie I think could have been about 20 to 30 minutes shorter.
I agree.
I just felt like the end felt like it was dragging to me, and I saw it in theaters, and then I watched it maybe like a week ago whenever we decided we were going to watch this one. And both times I felt near the end as if I was getting tired of it, even though I love it. Yeah. So I will reiterate that I did like this movie a lot, but near the end of both times watching it, I was thinking to myself, okay, this can be over now.
Yeah.
So,
no,
I don't know.
agree.
So overall, would you recommend this to someone if you had to...
Oh, man. That's a hard question.
Yeah.
How about you answer that first?
Well, I guess in the tradition of movies like Lethal Weapon and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, I would absolutely say this is a great addition to the mythos of Shane Black being a great dialogue writer, having, inventive and funny violence, and creating characters that are really fun to watch on screen. That being said, I think your average moviegoer is maybe not going to appreciate every part about it, if that makes sense.
I mean, I don't know
Sorry, say that again?
I don't know a lot of, just regular people who know, like Liu, all of Shane Black's, collection. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. So I mean, I guess I'm looking at the Box Office Mojo page, and this movie did not do well in theaters.
That makes
box
sense.
office wise,
it shouldn't have been rated R. It didn't need to be rated R.
It probably shouldn't have, because I think they could maybe cut down on the cursing a little bit, take out the boobs, and it would have been a totally passable PG-13 movie, reach a little bit wider of an audience, and they could still do the porn angle, just don't show it, And by the way, it bears mentioning that despite Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe being big-time internationally popular actors, this did not get released in the foreign market at all.
Probably for the same reasons. Who's the market?
Yeah, right.
If it was going to be rated R, it should have been rated R for the violence, not the everything else that you said, the nudity and the swearing.
Yeah. It says production budget was $60 million, and it grossed a total of $36 million.
Oh no, that sucks. Yeah. This movie deserves better than that, because it's a solid, well put together movie.
I agree.
Well, okay, it's solid, well put together performances. Just to see the interplay between Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling again is fun. It's a lot of fun watching those two.
Yeah, I would say I would recommend it just for that. And I would say, don't take this movie too seriously. Just watch how fun these two guys are to watch on screen. It reminded me a lot of, have you seen Crazy Stupid Love?
No.
That's actually one of my favorite movies of the last 5 years or so. And Ryan Gosling and Steve Carell have this amazing interplay of opposite personalities in it. And that's kind of where I first realized that Ryan Gosling had a good sense for comedy. And I think this is kind of the next logical step for him in terms of like playing a character that's genuinely comedic. And I think, now that I've seen both of these, I really would like to see him try more comedy if he hasn't already.
Oh, you know what? I want to watch that now. For me, I think I would only recommend this if like, because I don't know a lot of people who like the buddy cop genre.
Yeah.
Because this is not a crime movie. You can't say if you like crime movies, you're gonna love this. This is not that. I couldn't recommend this unless you're a big Russell Crowe fan. I really enjoyed watching it, like for the parts that I enjoyed, but it's not worth like you going out of your way to see it or to go to a theater and see it.
Yeah.
Like if it's on TV, oh for sure, just leave it on and watch it. You'll enjoy it.
Exactly.
But you don't have to go out of your way for this one.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I would definitely say like if you like characters interacting with each other, like if you like The West Wing, you'll like the interaction between Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. Other than that, not a lot to say about it. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to say about either one of these two movies?
Yeah, I guess I would say in conclusion, they're both better movies than our recommendations or lack thereof give them credit for, but I think there's something about both of them that just slightly misses the mark.
Oh, Kubo missed the fucking mark, man. You're being too gentle.
I know, I like to be nice to movies once we've summarized our good and bad feelings.
Yeah, I know. I don't feel the same, at least for Kubo.
For sure.
And again, I just wish that Nice Guys at least made its money back.
Yeah, I really think it deserved to.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, and it also bears mentioning, though, that I talked to one of my good film buddies about The Nice Guys, and he absolutely hated it. And then I asked him if he had seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or any of Shane Black's other movies, and he was like, well, no, I haven't seen Lethal Weapon, haven't seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And I was like, dude, if you haven't seen those, you almost don't deserve to watch The Nice Guys, because those movies are like the blueprint for what The Nice Guys was, honestly. So, I mean...
See, I haven't seen those either, but I've seen...
And you still liked it. So, I mean, that says volumes about, your ability to watch closely.
I appreciate the old, like I said, like the Clint Eastwood, what's it called? Dirty Harry kind of crap. Or the other one. Oh, what was the other one? Anyway, I just like that. I like that whole, the crime mystery stuff. You know what I mean? Buddy cop crap.
You said it's not Lethal Weapon?
I never saw Lethal Weapon. I think maybe if I did, I forgot it. Let me type it in here.
No, it's very possible. But at any rate, I think we have two movies that we might not recommend, or that we might recommend with a couple of caveats.
Yeah, I've never seen Lethal Weapon. Okay, season 1. Is it a movie or is it a TV show?
It's a movie from the 80s. They just made a TV show out of it this year. It stars Mel Gibson and Danny Glover.
Oh, is that the one where like that French guy tries to blow up the building?
No, that's Die Hard.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
But at any rate, check it out, and I would be eager to hear your thoughts on it after watching this movie. Sure. At any rate, I think that'll do it for our latest episode of the Big Movie Podcast.
Yes, it will. I have been Anson Shan.
And I'm Paul Morgan.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Heck yeah.